Hello, all you hardcores out there. How are you doing? It's Big P here from Poker's Corner, the biggest gob in sport. Today I'm joined by Kent from Northern Ireland, Belfast. But first of all, I just want to give a big shout out to Welcome Estates. Click the link that's pinned up in the comments section if you need to look at some properties in Spain for sale or you're looking to go out there and have a holiday. By all means, big shout out to Spartan Demolition and let's get down to business. How are you doing, Kent?
I'm all right, bruv. What about you?
I'm all right. What do you think to the reappearing man's new look? Hey, hey, he
Is he
always
ever gonna?
goes to Tash, doesn't he, in November?
He's been very quiet recently, and I've actually been enjoying some of the content recently with not actually seeing him or
Yeah.
hearing it. Just
Well,
it just goes to show how annoying he really is.
what has he got to talk about? He never beat a champion, did he? So basically, he's strutting around, masquerading as a champion, but he never took a belt off a champion. So how that man puts his head down at night as a boxing expert pundit on DAZN, how he puts his head down on pillow at night, I don't know because he's never won anything off a champion, has he?
I remember watching him against Bob Bajatev, and he was down in that fight, and I don't know how Big Bob didn't come back and stop him in that round. That was probably one of the hardest fights of his career. The Maccabi fight, there were so many excuses after Maccabi fight. He won that, but as you say, he's never actually took a belt off a champion. But I suppose that echoes his opinions. Last week he turned around and said about Conor Benn situation, and he turned around and his excuse was for not talking about it. He basically said, "Yeah, I wish I had a body like that when I was boxing."
Yeah. What do you think will happen to Tony Bellew then? Do you think he'll just follow Eddie until Eddie packs in, then he'll just follow Eddie around like his sheepdog for the rest of his life?
Well, that's basically the way all those DAZN guys are. You've got Darren Barker, who's another one who just follows Eddie. You've got Tony Bellew, who'll just follow Eddie. You've got your man Eddie, who follows Eddie. He's on. He goes on Talk Sport sometimes. They're all the DAZN matchroom narrative. They all follow Eddie. And I think a lot has to be said. The whole Tyson Fury and the whole True Geordie interview. True Geordie actually works for DAZN. He covers all that crap that they show, all that fake boxing that they show. He's on commentating and that, and comparing these muppets to great champions. He works for Eddie. So nah, they're just all gonna rinse it for as long as they can and see where they end up. But it's like jumping on the money train and seeing how far it can take them.
Yeah, it's I can't understand why these people like Tony Bellew can't just get something going for themselves without having to cling on to people. I mean, they show macho-ness and manliness and bottle to get in ring as fighters, which I respect. And obviously, he likes to tell everybody what he's done this, he's done that. Fair enough. But in my opinion, Bellew was just famous for taking good hidings when he stepped up and beating a washed up David A.
Remember that David Hay fight? Remember that disaster? Flipping heck.
Two disasters, wasn't it? The point I want to make is Tony Bellew, right, talks a good game, but he's not got the CV to match it, has he?
Remember the Cleverly rematch? How bad was that?
Listen, let me tell you about that Cleverly rematch, Kent. Him and Cleverly got 200 bags apiece. You know what Eddie got? £1 million. So who were the daddy on that show then? He weren't them, were it? Hey, why doesn't Tony Bellew want to talk about percentages of what him and Cleverly got paid on that fight? They never mentioned that one, do they? Or the what was that other guy who drew with? Not Macabo. He drew with a guy, didn't he? I forgot his name.
Yes,
The bald
that
head
was
guy who were with Jackie Callum.
that was a that was a. Remember the how did they
Isaac
got an inst
Chilemba. No, not Isaac Chilemba.
Isaac. I'm gonna check it out. It was a terrible fight, absolutely horrendous fight. I don't know, and there was a rematch there as well. It was so bad they actually had to have a rematch. I don't know how the rematch was as bad as the Isaac Shalemba.
Isaac Chilemba, that's it. Yeah, I nearly said Isaac Chamberlain. Isaac Chilemba, that was him. Yeah, he had a draw with him, then he beat him on points. Two stinkers, wasn't it?
Then it was the performance against Adonis Stevenson where he turned his back. Remember, he turned his back in the corner.
Yeah.
Stevenson was punching the head off him.
Yeah. What I could never work out is the simple reason, really. Tony Bellew, right? What I couldn't work out was he did he win ABAs 3 times?
Yeah, I actually seen him
Edinburgh.
box in Belfast as an amateur international bout up in Andersonstown Leisure Centre. He fought up at heavyweight, so he did. And some of his early pro fights, he actually fought at heavyweight as well.
Well, I remember back in the day, and everybody was making a bit of noise about him being this big, chubby Scouse kid who could bang. And I remember him winning ABAs 3 times, and I thought, well, why don't he just turn pro? Do you know what I mean? I couldn't wait. He
I
turned
think,
pro late, didn't he?
yeah, he did. I think the worst thing he could have did was box at light heavyweight. I don't know why why you would have wanted to box at light heavyweight. You look at the light heavyweight division then in UK was tough enough. You had Oval
Yeah,
McKenzie, who he fought twice. Uh,
yeah,
he beat twice. The Cleverly loss at light heavyweight. Obviously, the Miranda fight. Miranda was done at that stage. Miranda was done after, he had several losses on the road after that. And then he had that disaster against Shalamba. Then it was the Stevenson, fight. And again, we'll talk about how bad, when he won the Cleverly rematch. Well, people forget that was actually a split decision as well. That was a split. That was a razor thin split decision, Russell.
To be fair to him, though, the first fight were close, wasn't it, when he fought Cleverly?
It was a very, very good fight. It was a Frank Warren show. Really, really. I remember watching it in Sky. And it was absolutely bright. Cleverly then had a good balance in his career. He was working with his dad at the time. He was actually coachable at the time. And I think what happened with him was he just got too much money, too many defenses, and didn't really want to listen to anybody. But I think the worst Tony Bellew fight I can remember was horrendous, and I don't even know how. I don't even know how this was a world title fight. This has probably got to be the worst cruiserweight world title fight in history. It was BJ Forbes.
BJ Flores.
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah.
Awful fight. That was the whole sideshow Bob promo after that. What a disaster that was.
Yeah. All right then. Well, let's move on then from the adventures of Tintin, the man that's never took a belt off a champion. Tony, we know you're listening. You've never beat a champion. How do you feel about that? Now that you're 40, he's 40 now, isn't he?
Don't know, don't care.
Yeah.
Hope I don't see him on a
Tony's
boxing ring
turned
again.
40. Tony's turned 40. So well done, Tony, for getting to 40 and getting home safe to your family. Let's hope you stay there and stop annoying us on DAZN. Right, Jack Massey's going to fight Parker at heavyweight. Dennis is taking legal action against Massey. Kevin Marie's manager, and Ben Shalom at boxer. And I think I'm not sure if Sky are involved in legal action as well. So Dennis's big guns from Leeds, his lawyers have all gone full steam ahead. What's happening? Is there a lot of tapping up going on, or are managers like Kevin Marie and fighters like Jack Massey, who Dennis got a fortune tied up in, getting him an IBO cruiserweight title? Have they just got no morals whatsoever?
Nothing, absolutely nothing. Boxing at the minute it's really disappointing because nobody wanted to know Jack Massey after he lost, to Reactpor. Nobody cared where he was going. It's kind of like the cruiserweight division is completely redundant. It's it's there's no real credibility. There's no real commercial viability in the cruiserweight division, world level and even British level. Dennis invested on him. Nobody cared about him. He wasn't on TV. He got him at IBO World Title fight and fight on Fight Zone on a network that could be seen. And you look at that investment and that show Dennis put on at that time. There was a Commonwealth title bout on it, and there was a WBC international title bout on it, plus an IBO. So Dennis had to fork out for 3 different sanctioning bodies, all of which need expenses and paid on the night. It's a fortune.
They all need food and beverage, Kent.
And the board, it's a fortune. And for Jack Massey to do that and jump in the sky with Shalon it's absolutely terrible. It's like look at football. You look at football. Look at. Give me an example of a footballer. Footballer signs a contract, and you have to honor that. And for them to go and play for another club, you need to be. They need the club and the need compensated. They need paid for their asset, and I think that's really, really poor.
Well, this is how I look at it, Ken. Ken, this is how I look at it, right? Jack Massey's IBO Cruiserweight champion, right? Soon as they won that belt with Dennis on Fight Zone, they went sniffing around Sky straight away, right? This is where Kevin Marie's not covered himself in glory because not loyal. They say one thing, but when it comes down to it, they're not loyal. They go for the money. He don't care for Jack Massey. He cares for money. Now he's give Dennis a load of crap. Oh, we can do this, we can do that. Dennis and Steve Crump have put the money where the mouth is. They've delivered, got him in position, and now they want to go working with Ben Shalom, which is not good. But what I want to know is this: when Dennis ever had any problems with board, they come down on him heavy. Board going to come down on Ben Shalom heavy on this because I've seen the contract that Jack Massey signed and it's watertight. And don't forget, I was involved up there 5 years, so I've seen more contracts than probably most people who have an opinion on here. And it's watertight, but we're going to see, aren't we? But Dennis has got his lawyers ready to fire cannons, so let's see what happens, whether he's doing it just for his own personal buzz or what, I don't know. He has rolled the dice before, being at High Court. Him and Eugene Maloney went at it, and he's had problems with a few people in the past, but it's rare that he has that many issues. But I want to know are we going to see the same energy from Robert Smith at the Boxing Board of Control to deal with this tapping up that's going on by Ben Shalom, or it's not going to happen? Because if anybody else does it, people like Steffi Bull are first to get on phone going, oh, Dennis is talking about my fire, Gabby McDonald on his corner. So Steffi Bull, the little grass that you are, grassing people to board, well, that's what happens, isn't it? But nobody tapped Steffi's fighter up. His fighter were texting Dennis. I seen the texts, so it went nowhere. So Steffi, there's 2 sides to every story. You ginger, CUN. You know what I mean? But no, I just think that the board need to show the same energy as they would if Dennis were tapping somebody up. Just because it's Ben Shalom and he's a big swinger at Sky, if you break the rules, you should be in trouble. Jack Massey's signed to Fight Zone. So why are they going to fight on Sky? So that to me is a legal issue. I don't know.
I just think Russell, there's two tiers there. I see a big problem there on the board, and it's all down. Yeah, Ben Shalom and Sky, obviously, and Jack Massey are all complicit,
Yeah.
but I see something there with the board, and I don't think it's fair. I think the TV networks, the promotional outfits that have got big TV networks involved, are treated differently from, say, the likes of non-television uh, promotional outfits, and they basically think they can do what they want, and I don't think it's fair. I don't think even the licensing that non-televised boxing promoters pay, they pay the same as the televised promoters, and I think it's the system is absolutely all wrong, and it just gives these big networks and these big promotional companies just basically the right to do anything they want. And I think it's systemic to the board. I think it's completely systemic to the board, and I think it's an absolute disgrace that's happening. And hopefully, Dennis gets compensated, or the fight doesn't happen. And I think you need to look at it's all about honor, but it's also all about money as well. And when there's money involved in that, there are television deals, it's actually on a box office card. So there will be I would say Massey's getting paid a considerable amount of money.
Bank undercard, isn't it, with Beefy in it, chief support.
I don't even think that fight, Russell, is worthy of being pay-per-view either. Why is it?
Well, in current climate, Kent, you'd have to say Beefy and Eubank is pay-per-view, wouldn't you, in the current climate? But if you go on the old regime, when you were getting Frotch Boote on non-pay-per-view, well, Beefy against Eubank would be non-pay-per-view, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I don't see how that. I've said this before. For me, my first recollection of pay-per-view boxing was Mike Tyson in the 90s. Mike Tyson, Bruno, Mike Tyson, fighting anybody at that stage.
Bruno McCall
pay-per-view.
Won it.
Yeah, Bruno McCall at Wembley. Then you've got then you've got like Nassim Hamid, who transcended into a really big pay-per-view star down as a featherweight.
Yeah, but there were WBO defenses at the time, weren't they? Really, and after Kevin Kelly, Tom Johnson, you couldn't really say that there were any top guys there. Could you say that?
Well, Wayne McCulloch was there.
Wayne McCulloch, Olympic silver medalist. That was a razor thin fight, wasn't it? That towards end, wasn't it?
I always said that if Wayne had brought over his old amateur coach, Harry, he would have won that fight. He would have beaten Harry Robinson. He would have won that fight. So he would have, but obviously it didn't happen. I remember that fight was on Halloween in America, but Nas was big. Nas was box office. No matter who Nas was fighting, he was just so entertaining at the time. And to be fair, those cards at the time were packed out cards. You had a lot of really, really good world title fights under that. You had really good fighters fighting underneath those cards as well. So it was an event you were paying for. Now it seems to be. You look at Fury and White. That was a standalone fight. You were paying for Fury against.
You could say Paul Ingle were a good win as well, couldn't you?
Paul Ingle, I tell you what, Russell, that was a razor thin win. Paul Ingle had Nas over early in that fight, and his fitness, his pressure. Paul Ingle was a really, really good fighter. Outstanding amateur. That was a brilliant fight. So it was brilliant fight.
Yeah, but getting back to what we're on about there, what do you think, Ned?
I don't agree. Even now, it's paper. I don't agree that. I think we've been conditioned. I've said this before that any big domestic fight, oh, it's pay-per-view. It's not. not all big domestic fights are pay-per-view. Eubank's last fight was against, you know, Liam Williams. Liam Williams isn't exactly box office. You look at Beefy Smith's last fight against that African guy who quit. Who's that guy? So no, I can see where you're coming from. I think over the years we've been conditioned to so many box office fights that weren't actually box office fights, and us were the mugs to pay for it. We have been conditioned to just saying, "I'll fork out 20 quid or 25 quid." I no, for me, a box office fight at the minute would be Usyk and Fury, but not Beefy Smith and Eubank.
Yeah, not Beefy Smith, no.
No, he's not a pay-per-view fighter.
All right. Okay. Heavyweight division, Kent. Fury Usyk, does it happen? Yes or no?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Okay. Fury Joshua, does that happen?
No.
Fury Wilder 4, does that happen?
Yes.
Fury Joyce.
Possibly.
Fury Dubois.
Now, yes, easy.
Fury Ergovic.
No. No.
Fury Parker.
No.
Fury versus Huey Fury.
No. Board wouldn't let it.
Right. Anthony Joshua, what next for him, Ken?
Anthony Joshua, Anthony Joshua, he's gone on this merry-go-round of coaches. It always stems back to the same thing. It's Anthony Joshua has had control of everything since he was an amateur. He's had everything handed to him on a plate, and once you have that power, you kind of get used to dictating. He's been wrapped in cotton wool his whole career until now, and he's just looking for the easiest way. He thinks going around all these coaches, he's going to find an easy way to beat the likes of Fury and Usyk. No, there's no easy way to beat any of those fighters, and if you have that mindset, I think it's going to be really hard for him. I think he's not going to the Fury fight is not going to happen. It's further away now than ever. I think he's going to have to go down that route of Dillian White. Highs up. That's not a pay-per-view fight. Why? Who would pay to watch that? Dillian White, in my opinion, looked atrocious against Jermaine Franklin. Atrocious. And Joshua has lost 2 of his last 3 fights. So who in the right mind would pay to see that as pay-per-view?
Yeah. I see where you're coming from. What do you reckon is going to happen with Chisora now, Kent?
I see this. I see it's like when you get so many big paydays, he has had a lot of, big payday fights. You get used to that money. That's something that you get accustomed to. That's something you get conditioned to is a big purse.
Yeah.
I don't think he steps away. I think Dale Boy will be fighting 5 years down the line. I think, in a sad way, I think Dale Boy will go down that route of the way Danny Williams is at the present time, just accepting fights. Hope he doesn't, but he's had that big money now for the last 3 and 4 years.
He's 39-year-old this month, isn't he, Chisora?
Yeah, he is. He is, and as I say, he's been conditioned to big paydays. And what's to say if somebody offers him? Doesn't have to be a UK based promoter. What's to say he's offered a fight in Saudi, or he's offered a fight in Asia, or he's offered a fight in America for good money? He's not going to turn it down.
Yeah.
He's not going to turn it down. I can't even see him come back to the domestic level because it's not about titles for Derek Chisora. He doesn't care about titles. It's getting paid.
Yeah, Bricktop's got on Talksport and he's saying it should happen, Usyk Fury, but I'm not being funny, but I'm hearing reports from Team Fury lot that they're not so keen to fight Usyk. They want to fight your Dylan Whites and Chisora types and just pick up easy wins and easy money because they now know that Tyson's could basically fight Benny from Crossroads and sell it out, couldn't he?
Yeah, I actually think now that watching Dubois last week and his performance now, I think Frank Warren knows that he's not going to be the guy that's going to come in and take over from Fury. And I actually think now that Fury's next fight, don't be surprised if Fury's next fight is a cash out against Dubois. You know, Frank Warren knows fine rightly that Dubois isn't going to be able to step up and beat Usyk. You know, he's got that inferior WBA belt. Usyk is super champion.
Yeah.
I could see that fight happening way before Fury and Usyk.
Can you?
Yeah, I can't see who do you see after that last fight Dubois beaten in the top 10?
Nobody. I don't see Dubois beating anybody in that top 15. Nobody.
No,
I don't even see
no.
Hellboy losing against him. I see Derek Chisora stopping Dubois.
See, to be honest with you, you know, there's been a lot of talk. Yeah, Shane McGuigan, he's done this and he's done that. I don't see any improvement whatsoever in the last 2 years of Daniel Dubois working with Shane McGuigan. He looks like the exact same fighter he was with Martin Bowers. He hasn't improved. His head is so high up. That's something I see all the McGuigan fighters. You know, they're all like a rock. They all box like a rocking horse. You know, a high guard, but the head higher than the guard. You know, you seen Billum Smith at the weekend. He come through a tough fight. The whole thing that they were saying about Dubois' knee went, well, how could his knee go when he was buzzed by that backhand of Lorena? You know, Lorena was a small cruiserweight coming up into that fight, and he looked like every time he landed, he was hurting him. I can't see. I could even see now, even Dillian White beating Daniel Dubois.
Yeah. What do you
Do you
think?
think?
Dylan White. Yeah, I can see Dylan White doing Dubois. I think it's probably a 50-50 them two. But Dylan White's a spent force, and I think Daniel Dubois, he's got beard problems, hasn't he?
Yeah. He just looked. He just looked every time Lorena landed a shot, he hurt him. And his defense, he didn't seem to know.
Yeah.
He didn't seem to know how to react to getting hurt. You know, when he got hurt, it was like obviously nobody likes getting hit with shots, but
Yeah.
he's massively. You know that. What does that say about that WBA and inferior belt? What does that say about that?
I don't know, mate. I don't know. What do you think is the answer for Dubois?
I don't think. I think the way he is, you can't even get a conversation out of him. You know, he's got looks like. How can you coach somebody like that? There, you know, he doesn't.
He seems a cheery enough kid. He's always got a big grin on his face. Am I saying that? I'd be grinning if I were picking up the money he's picking up. If I couldn't fight, it's free money, isn't it?
Easy money. You know, I just don't think he's coachable because you look at the last couple of years,
Because his father's too involved, you think?
massively. He's probably getting multiple voices. You know, you look how long him and Mark Tibbs lasted. That how long did that last? Three sessions or something like that. There, uh, I just don't think he's coachable. I don't think he doesn't look like he knows how to take in information. You know, you look at Yeah, he's punching through the target. He's a big heavyweight. He should be punching through the target as a big heavyweight, but I don't see any improvement at all. Defensively, offensively, yeah, he is offensive. He can put shots together and look explosive, but
Yeah.
so does most heavyweights. But defensively, Russell, he doesn't look any better, to be honest with you.
All right then. All right, moving on then from one dummy, Jabbar, to talk about another dummy, a big dummy. Joe Joyce, does he win a world title in this era?
I don't think Joe Joyce beats Usyk.
No.
No, no, I don't think he beats him. I think he's got too much movement for him. He's too much ring craft. He knows how to win fights. He's had those level fights. He's had more world title fights than at cruiserweight. He's more world title experience. I don't think Joyce beats him, to be honest with you. Who's do you class as that WBA inferior belt that Daniel Dubois owns as a world title? No, not after the weekend. At the minute, no, because you've got Fury. You've got Fury there, who the WBC will do somersaults for as the champion, because he brings in massive purse split. And the higher the purse split
Plus, you're not forgetting, Kent, that his dad, Big John Fury, big fighting man who's been on the hard road, he's being watched by MI5 from the moon. I'm a serious dude. Let's have a battle royale. 200-kilo deadlifts with me, Corey.
200 grand bare knuckle fights against the Irish. Tell you what,
I
Russell.
thought it were 100 grand, 100 grand, and he's 100-0 and 100 by knockout. He likes round numbers, John, doesn't he?
Who was the champion he beat?
Well, he said in that Sun interview with Wally Downs, Wally says, hey, John, who was the Irish champion that you beat in 92 for 100 grand? John Fury's reply was, for the life of me, I can't remember his name. Well, let me tell you this.
What?
Every fight I've ever had, whether it's at school or wherever, since I've been about 10, I remember every one of the names.
Yeah, you always do, no matter what. Especially for
not even when there's 100 bags on fight.
100K bare knuckle fight. Is there any tips of it, Russell?
Now there's no tapes, and I've now put the reward up to $5 grand for anybody that's had a straight John Fury. From $1 grand, I've put it up to 5,000 now. I'm going to get welcome estates to pay it. $5 grand for anybody that can come forward and show me footage of Big John having a straightener on hard road. It didn't happen. Just like the 7 million to charity didn't happen. Let's finish off on the guard. Where's this man heading?
I've no words for him, Russell. I'll say I think he's gone through. There's a midlife crisis, then there's a post midlife crisis. I think he's gone through a post midlife crisis, to be honest with you, at the minute, Russell.
Yeah.
He's yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I've no words for him. He's very smart. So what he did was he's using the whole Conor Benn situation to get some credibility back, but he's not doing it for the love of boxing. He's doing it to get some form of credibility back, but he's too biased for me to have any credibility. He's no, he's not like a Colin Hart,
Go on. Do you think that these media types like the Guard and Bean and stuff like that, when the don't forget, right, most people from boxing this, but we're from council estates, aren't we, and stuff like that in rough areas. When you get people like Bean and the Guard there, and they get excited around people like boxing people and things like that, do you feel that the people don't get their banter? I mean, he's the Gad, right? You've seen it with your own eyes. He's going around asking big black heavyweight boxers if they've had a shower and things like that. Do you think that's strange behaviour, or am I missing something here, Kent?
It's bizarre. It's completely bizarre behavior. And you touched on something there about boxing and classes. Yeah, boxing is a working class sport. You look at the many
Right.
champions over the years have come through council estates to win world titles, British titles, change their lives. And what's happening now? There's these silver spoons coming in the boxing, and it's destroying it. Conor Ben. You look at Conor Ben. Conor Ben's not from a housing estate. Conor Ben's from a private school, a silver spoon in his house. Mouth. Look at him. There's so many of these people coming into boxing, and they're diluting it, and boxing's kind of losing its working class. 2 year ago, look at 2 year ago when Eddie Hearn put on that crap in his back garden and was charging £750 a ticket for that. How's working class people gonna afford that?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from. But the old Gad situation, it's done me in that the I don't know how people can slink into boxing and not be neutral because he's not neutral. Like Ed Robinson, Andy Scott, people like that. They're neutral, aren't they? But there's too many people with prominent positions in the media in boxing. They're not neutral. They're in bed with certain people, and it's wrong, isn't it? Like the Gad's in bed with Fury, isn't he? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
He's like their PR guy, isn't he? So we've got fractions in boxing. Like Eddie keeps having a dig at the Gad, and quite rightly so, because at one point the Gad was stuck up Anthony Joshua, wasn't he? Now these people have to be neutral because when it comes to when these fights are on, we all see what happens. We all saw what happened with Spencer Oliver and the Gad, didn't we? Old Juggies and the Gad when they were around Joshua after he lost. We all know what was said. We all know around Chisora. We all know what happened with Bellew and Caldwell when they were cheerleading for Chisora when he fought Usyk. Now, these people in prominent positions in these media jobs should not be allowed to be cheerleaders for their friends and get their words across for their mates. Like if Tyson Fury had lost to Otto Wallin when he should have done, when the fight should have been stopped, can you imagine the Gad going into full damage limitation mode? Because I can, because they can't speak it from what they're seeing with their eyes because they want access. It's called all access. If they don't have access, what would Gareth A. Davies saying if he couldn't get to these boxing press conferences? He won't be able to earn, would he?
I can't picture him, Russell, going in and lifting boxes or.
There you go. He won't be able to earn anything. Coogan won't be able to earn anything. But these people are either cheerleading for their own people or they're sitting on the fence. Now, Coogan never gives an opinion on whoever's going to win a world title unless Billy Joe's fighting. Well, that's bias, isn't it? Or unless Conor Ben's fighting. That's bias. They're not going to go out and do the pals wrong instead of saying, here, Conor, you failed 2 dope tests here. You've got to prove that you're innocent, Conor. That's what Coogan should be coming out and saying, but we're not getting it, are we?
No, Russell, because it's not about boxing. You look at these guys and they're involved in boxing, and there's a lot of people getting involved in boxing. There's a lot of people doing podcasts in boxing and finding a career and finding a job.
Click on part 2, Kent.
Yep.
All right, mate. Cheers.